couple of months went by, and Belle was about 6 to 7 months old. She had grown up to be a playful young cub. She was outside on top of Pride Rock one morning. She was running around when Simba and Nala approached her. Simba surprised his granddaughter when he picked her up with his mouth. "What's up today, sweetheart?" Simba asked his granddaughter. "Just playing around, Grandpa." Belle chuckled. She looked at her grandparents who were watching her play. "Your mom is going to be on a hunt, Belle. Same with Aunt Vitani," Nala said to Belle as she chuckled in a playful mood. Kovu approached his daughter and got a hold of her by the tail. "Belle, you can play in the Pride Lands," Kovu said to his daughter. "I can, Daddy?" Belle asked her father. "Of course, sweetie. Just stay in the Pride Lands, though," Kovu replied. "The Outlands are the most dangerous place on Earth, and we don't want you to get hurt." "Okay, Daddy, I'm gonna play," Belle said as she earned a kiss from Kovu. Then she ran up to him and snuggled with him, and then she ran up to her parents and snuggled with her grandparents before taking off. "I do worry about her. If Scarlet returns and comes back, she might hurt her." Kovu looked up at Simba and Nala with a look of worry on his face. Simba and Nala couldn't agree more with Kovu. They all stared at each other for a moment before Nala spoke up. "Where's Timon and Pumbaa?" Nala asked Simba. "They're out collecting bugs as usual. Maybe I should go after her," Simba replied. Even though he was getting old, Kovu didn't think it was a great idea. "No, Simba, you're old," Kovu said to the old king. "You could get hurt. What if Scarlet sees you?" "Kovu, I know what I'm doing. I'll be fine, I promise," Simba protested as Kovu sighed. Simba nudged Nala for a kiss before he left for Pride Rock. Meanwhile, in the Pride Lands, Belle was wandering around until she found another lion cub. The cub was a dark gray male and did have a tuft of black mane on his head. Belle thought the cub was cute, so she stared at him. She did what she had to say. She wanted to say something to the cub, but she was shy. The male cub turned around and noticed Belle, and he started to walk towards her. "Hello," the dark gray cub asked as Belle looked at the other lion cub. "Hello there, what's your name?" Belle asked. "My name is Zubri. What's your name?" Zubri asked. "I'm Belle. Are you alone?" Belle asked her new friend. "Well, yeah. All I have is my mother. I have no friends to play with." Zubri sighed in sadness as Belle comforted the lion cub. "Well, it's a long story, Belle. My father left my mother, and that's all I know," Zubri replied. "My father left before I was born. My mother never told me if he died or not." "I'm so sorry. It must be sad not having a dad," Belle said as she sat beside her new friend. Simba was a couple feet away from the lion cubs. He was watching his granddaughter talking to her new friend. Simba looked around and wondered if the cub Belle's playing with has a mother. He sees a lioness whose fur was light brown. "So many memories watching Belle play with her new friend brings me memories of me as a cub playing with Nala," Simba sighed. The lioness looked up to see Simba. She began walking towards him. She sat down at least 3 feet away from him. "You must be Simba. I heard about you," the lioness said. "Yep, that's me," Simba replied. "I'm here watching my granddaughter play with her friend. I'm assuming that lion cub she's playing is your son." Belle looked up to see her grandfather with another lioness, and she assumed it was Zubri's mother. "Hey, Grandpa, what are you doing here?" Belle asked. "And who is this lioness?" "That is my mom, Belle," Zubri told her. "Your father wanted me to keep an eye on you. As a young cub, anything can end badly," Simba explained to Belle. "I'm Zubri's mother. My name is Banu," Zubri's mother replied with a smile. She was happy that her son found someone to play with. "If you don't mind me asking," Simba began. He was curious about Banu and Zubri and where they came from. "Where did you and your son come from?" "We both outsiders came from the Dunya Pride. It's a long story," Banu replied. She sighed at the fact that she had a rough life. "It's fine if you don't want to tell what happened. Just the location is all I was asking," Simba said to comfort the outsider. "It's a long story. First of all," Banu began. "My mother was once loyal to Simba and Sarabi. She moved from the Dunya Pride to the Pride Lands. My mother loved the way Mufasa and Sarabi ruled the Pride Lands. But until Scar took over the Pride Lands, it was because Mufasa died, and my mother was pregnant at the time. But I never knew who my father was, so my mother was saddened by Scar's announcement on Mufasa's death. Mufasa's death was a terrible tragedy, But to lose Simba, who barely began to live, Scar announced to the Pride Landers. To me, it was a terrible loss. My mother was Mufasa and Sarabi's best friend. She lived in the Pride Lands during Mufasa's ruling, and she was saddened to lose a king, who was a friend to her. So it's assumed in our hearts that I must take over the throne, Scar continued, which in lion and hyena come together to make a glorious future. After Scar and the hyenas took over the Pride Lands, my mom ran away. She didn't want to be forced under Scar's ruling. She ran away to the Dunya Pride. She did meet another lioness that was pregnant too. She lost her mate and had a rough life as well. So my mom had me as a cub, and my mom's friend had her cub as well. So me and my mates were best friends. We played together every day, all day. Even my mother's mate was alone as well. They managed to feed us and take care of us. That is until me and my mates grew up. We helped out our mothers out even more. Then we fell in love, and we both became more than friends. My mother and my mate's mother were both happy for us, so we both became mates. And as soon as my mate and I found out I was expecting a cub or more, my mother sadly disappeared one night. She never came back, so my mate's mother became sick and slowly died. Then it was just me and my mate. However, there is no happy ending to this. My mate ran into the Pride Lands, mainly because someone was calling for help, so he ran off and never came back. Ever since Zubri was born, we've been living and hiding in the Pride Lands, Banu sadly finished her story. Why don't you and your family return to Pride Rock? Simba asked. The Pride Lands are under my ruling now, and you have nothing to fear. Banu looked at Simba for a moment, and then she had tears rolling down her cheek. I never thought of returning. My mom thought you were dead, Banu replied. My pride thought I was dead, but when I showed up to challenge Scar, they were surprised that I was alive. Scar is the one to blame. He killed my father in the gorge, and when there was a stampede, my dad tried to save me. Simba began to tell his story about his past, but sighed in sadness about his father's death. Scar blamed his death on me, but I realized that I must continue the circle of life. That's why you returned. I was wondering if me and my son are welcome to Pride Rock, Banu asked. Of course you can. You were once a friend to my parents, Simba smiled as he, along with Banu, started walking back to Pride Rock. Come on, Zubri. We're going to our new home. Your friend's grandfather is letting us live with his family. It will be better for us, Banu said to her son as he and Belle started walking together. What is your family like? Zubri asked. My family is huge, Zubri. You'll like it, Belle replied as she ran ahead. As soon as Simba, along with his granddaughter, returned to Pride Rock, with a lioness and her cub, Kovu and Kiara both looked up to see that their daughter, along with Simba, had returned. They also saw Banu and her son Zubri with them. Simba, glad you and Belle are back. Kovu welcomed the king and his daughter back home. Hey, Daddy, I met a new friend today. Belle replied as she turned her attention to Zubri. Here's my new friend. His name is Zubri. Hello there, Kovu said to Zubri, who hid behind his friend. It's okay, Zubri. My dad is nice, Belle said to Zubri, who walked slowly away from behind his friend. See, Zubri, I'm Belle's father, Kovu said to the young lion cub. Kovu, who is this cub? Kiara asked as she walked towards her daughter. Is this your new friend? Yes, he is, mother. Zubri is my new friend, Belle replied. Hi, Zubri said to Kiara shyly. He's a bit shy. He's never seen other lions, so he's going to be shy for a while. He'll get to you guys, to know you guys eventually. Banu replied as she walked up to Kiara and Kovu. I'm Banu, his mother. Welcome to the Pride Lands. We welcome you and your cub with open arms, Kiara said to Banu. Zubri began to play around until he saw Timon and Pumbaa. They were eating bugs when they saw him. Hello there, fella. Who are you? Timon greeted Zubri as he hid behind Banu. That's our friends, Timon the meerkat and Pumbaa the warthog, Simba said to Zubri. Why is he hiding behind his mom, Simba? Timon asked in confusion. Was it something I said? No, it's not that, Timon. Zubri is shy, Simba replied. He's never met anyone since his birth, and he is a bit shy at first, Banu began to explain. But he'll get used to you guys. We're not going to hurt you. We just want to get to know you, Pumbaa said to Zubri, who slowly walked from behind, hiding from behind his mother. They're nice, Zubri. Are you okay? Belle asked and said to Zubri as he looked at Timon and Pumbaa. See, your friend knows us, Timon said. Zubri then saw a worm on the ground, so he ate the worm. Does he like bugs? Belle asked. He likes bugs as a treat and a snack, Banu replied as Nala walked down to meet the newcomers. Banu introduced herself and Zubri to Nala, and they did explain on where they came from and other stuff. Looks like we'll be good friends with Zubri. I know we'll be great friends, Belle said as she tackled Zubri playfully. Kovu and Kiara, along with Vitani, all watched as the two lion cubs play with each other. I think Zubri and Belle will be betrothed someday, Kovu whispered to Kiara. I have a feeling these two will be perfect for each other, Kiara whispered back. The next day in the Pride Lands rose, and Kiara was going on a hunt. She wasn't going alone, though. She was going to go on a hunt with Vitani and the other lionesses. Belle and Zubri were both asleep. Before Kiara left with the other lionesses, she walked up to Kovu, who was watching Belle sleep. I'm going to be on a hunt with Vitani and the other lionesses. Keep an eye on things while I'm gone, Kiara said to her mate. Of course, Kiara. I'll keep the princess safe, Kovu said to his mate as Kiara licked the sleeping cub. Then she kissed Kovu's muzzle before earning a kiss back. While in the Pride Lands, Kiara and Vitani were hunting with the other lionesses. They soon found a herd of gazelles in the distance. The lionesses all ran after them. However, Vitani and Kiara then saw something in the distance. It was a dark red ball of fur. Vitani notices it in the grass. What is it? Kiara asked Vitani as she stared at the ball of fur. I'm not sure, Vitani replied. She and Kiara both walked slowly up to the ball of fur. It looked too small to be a gazelle, but when Vitani got there, she was heartbroken and even feeling sad. There was a young lion cub, and of course it was crying as there was no other lion around to protect it. It's a lion cub, but where's its mother? Kiara asked as the red lion cub looked at the two lionesses and then tried to run away from them. It's okay, we're not going to hurt you, Vitani said to the young cub. We just want to know where your parents are. We want to help you. Please listen, Kiara added. I'm Johari. My mom has put me in a nest of grass, Johari began, but my mom hasn't returned yet. Kiara and Vitani both looked around, but they didn't see her mother. I don't see her mother, Vitani said sadly. She looked at Kiara with a sad look. Why not take her with us and see if her mother is looking for her? We can return her to her mother, and if she doesn't show up, Kiara whispered to Vitani before she cut Kiara off, I'll adopt her, like if she was my own cub, Vitani replied. She looked at Johari along with Kiara. We decided that you'll come with us. You could stay with us until we find your mother, Kiara said to Johari as the cub nodded. Later in the afternoon, Belle was spending time with her grandparents and Zubri when Vitani and Kiara returned. They had returned with another lion cub. Kovu walked up to the girls with curiosity on the cub. Who is this cub? Kovu asked Vitani and Kiara. We found her. She was alone, Vitani explained. I think her mother didn't make it. I'm sorry. I wish there was something we could do. Kovu sighed in sadness. I'll adopt her. I'll raise her like if she was my own child, Vitani replied. All right, she can stay, for now. If we don't see her mother, she's yours, Kovu said as Vitani looked to see Johari walking up towards Zubri and Belle. Who's this? Belle asked. This is Johari. She's going to be your playmate, Kovu replied to his daughter. Awesome! She's an awesome playmate, Zubri said happily as Johari began to play with her new friends. A few days went by and no one in Pride Rock had seen Johari's mother. Vitani was starting to think that her mother wasn't coming for her. So she walked towards Kovu before leaving for his patrol. Johari's mother isn't coming. I'm afraid. She sighed in sadness. Why? Kovu wondered. I have a feeling that her mother is dead. So it looks like Johari will stay with us, Vitani replied. Why do you sound so down? You sound like you don't want her around, Kovu replied with a question. No, it's not that, Kovu, Vitani continued as she sighed to take a breath. I'm just thinking of what to say to her. Just tell her the truth and say that you'll look after her, Kovu replied, comforting his sister. She'll make a great member of the Lion Guard. Vitani raised her head and realized this, so she looked at Kovu. Thanks, she said as she walked off to find Johari. Kovu then set off on his patrol. Vitani looked up to see Johari waking up to a brand new day. She saw Vitani and ran up to her. Is my mummy coming yet? Johari asked Vitani, wanting to know if her mother was coming to find her. Vitani sighed and sat down. She looked at Johari. Johari, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but your mother isn't coming for you, Vitani said sadly. Breaking the sad news to the cub was very hard, so Johari began to cry, realizing that she was all alone. No, why? Johari sobbed as Vitani pulled the cub closer to her. She looked down at the crying cub. It was breaking Vitani's heart, making her feel like crying as well. I don't know, sweetie. It just happens to some lions, Vitani replied as she comforted the young, crying cub. Who's going to look after me now? Johari asked as she looked up at Vitani. She had tears rolling down her cheek. I'll look after you, Johari, Vitani said. In fact, I'll be your mother. Well, your foster mom. You will? Johari asked Vitani. Yes, and I'll keep you safe no matter what, Vitani said as Johari calmed down and snuggled with Vitani, seeing that she had someone to keep her safe. Zubri along with Belle were going to play somewhere, so the two cubs walked up to Johari. Hey Johari, wanna come with us? Belle asked. Of course. Can I play with them, Mama? Johari asked. What do you think, Kiara? Vitani asked as both Banu and Kiara walked towards her. Well, it's all right with us, Banu replied. As long as Timon and Pumbaa go with you guys, Kiara added. Zubri, Belle, and Johari all groaned in disappointment. Zubri groaned. Not Timon and Pumbaa, Belle added. They go or you don't, Kiara said as the cubs all agreed. As Zubri, Belle, and Johari were walking together to play in the Pride Lands, of course with Timon and Pumbaa to watch them, the cubs then saw what seemed to be a gorge. Where are we? Johari asked. This is where great-grandpa Mufasa died, Belle replied. My grandpa told me this story, and it was years ago. She's right. It was when me and Pumbaa raised Simba as a cub, Timon said. Suddenly Pumbaa sees shadowy figures in the distance. They appeared to be humans. Timon, I see something, Pumbaa said. As Timon got a closer look, he saw that the shadowy figures were humans, and they have hunting rifles and even bow and arrows as well. We gotta get out of here, Timon said as he along with Pumbaa got Zubri and Belle and Johari to start running. Zazu was flying over the gorge when he saw trouble. He saw two hunters in the gorge and he saw Timon and Pumbaa along with the cubs. He realized that the cubs were in danger. I must tell Simba, Zazu said as he flew straight to Pride Rock. Simba along with Nala, Kiara, Vitani, and Banu were all chillin'. They saw Zazu flying towards them. Simba, everyone, there's hunters in the gorge, and they're after Timon, Pumbaa, and the cubs. With that said from Zazu, Simba got up and he was horrified. Zazu, take me to the cubs. Kiara, Nala, along with Banu and Vitani, wait for Kovu. When he comes back, meet me at the gorge, Simba instructed the lions. We will. And Simba, Nala paused before continuing to speak. Please be careful out there, she said before giving her mate a lick on the face. I will, I promise, Simba replied as he ran off to the gorge with Zazu to save his granddaughter and the other cubs.